Chapter 931. I'll break your arm. Emperor Leng swooped down from the stand with her killing intent fully unleashed. The experts were all shocked to see this. Emperor Leng, the emperor of the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land, was going to make the attack herself. Emperor Leng. Jian Wushuang looked at Emperor Leng, who was aiming at him. There was no horror or fear in his eyes, only determination and resolution. He held his sword in hand. Suddenly, a token appeared in his other hand. He then crushed the token. Buzz! The destructive sword essence surged, a force capable of destroying everything in the world. The sword essence formed a barrier with an overwhelming power, blocking Emperor Leng from coming closer to Jian Wushuang. This is... Emperor Leng looked at the source of the sword essence with a frown. The top experts in the stand looked in the same direction, too. Everyone could feel this terrifying sword essence. A giant spectral image suddenly appeared behind Jian Wushuang out of the blue. This spectral image held a sword, too. The horrible sword essence was from this spectral image. This must be the third level of sword essence left by Sunrise Sword Emperor. It's indeed powerful. Jian Wushuang clasped his hands, feeling the horrible sword essence. This sword essence came from the token that Xianxia had given him. The token contained 3 levels of sword essence, with each level being stronger than the one before it. Jian Wushuang had used 2 levels of sword essence. This was the third and final one. If the previous 2 levels were just the casual creation of Sunrise Sword Emperor, then the third contained all of his strength. Jian Wushuang also guided the sword essence. Emperor Leng. Jian Wushuang called out, "You don't deserve to be Leng Wushuang's mother. I might not be strong enough to kill you with this sword, but it's enough to break your arm." Jian Wushuang's voice was full of anger. There was killing intent in his eyes. As he moved his mind, the giant spectral image appeared behind him again. He swung his sword in an apparently casual manner. Everything seemed to be quiet and still. Emperor Leng's terror was reflected in her eyes. She felt the terrible destruction aura sweeping at her, and she struggled to get away. Kai! The sword light ruthlessly cut through her arm, severing it from her body. Her severed limb flew out. Her blood gushed out in the void. Emperor Leng was shocked. Everyone on the drill ground was equally as shocked as they watched the severed arm falling into the pit in the drill ground. Half of her body was drenched with blood as she stood in the void. Just as Jian Wushuang said, Emperor Leng lost an arm. Emperor Leng, the emperor of the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land, had her arm cut off in front of tens of millions of people. It was the work of an Eternal Realm expert to boot. Even if Jian Wushuang had used a special skill, it was still a feat that would shock the entire Eternal world. Jian Wushuang, I'm going to kill you. Emperor Leng screamed with anger and madness, her beautiful face contorted into a heinous expression. Her killing intent instantly skyrocketed. Jian Wushuang, an Eternal Realm expert, had cut off her arm in front of so many people. Jian Wushuang had been a nobody to her until now. This was an absolute shame for her. Kill! Kill! Kill him! The words echoed inside her head. Emperor Leng readied herself to attack again. Humph! Her scoff resounded like a thunderstorm in a clear sky. It also sounded like a drum being beat in everyone's ears. That's enough, you lowly bitch. Out of nowhere, a giant figure in a grey coat appeared beside Jian Wushuang. This person was very handsome and had delicate and short black hair. There seemed to be lightning flashing in his dark pupils. He stood there with his hands behind him, exuding a superb temperament. His unique air impressed everyone on the drill ground and in the audience. The experts immediately recognized him. Emperor Xiao. It's Emperor Xiao. Emperor Xiao is one of the 4 emperors. He's here. It's Emperor Xiao. The exclamations reverberated in the void. People were still grappling with shock. Swoosh! 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 With the swooshing sound of the wind, 10 figures appeared behind Emperor Xiao one after another. The men were all dressed in black robes and emanated strong auras. They were obviously supreme experts at the level of Dao Masters. Among them was Di Jing, who was very familiar with Jian Wushuang. Are those men the 10 war gods under Emperor Xiao? Yes. The 4 emperors in the peak period of the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land had a group of loyal Dao masters each. Emperor Xiao was ranked 2nd then, and it was well known that he had 10 war gods. Each of these war gods was a true Dao master with incredible strength. Later on, when Emperor Xiao broke off relations with Emperor Lang, a war between them broke out. Emperor Xiao was defeated and his 10 war gods were either wounded or killed. It's evident now that Emperor Xiao has once again collected 10 war gods over the years. Now that Emperor Xiao has come here in person and even brought his 10 war gods, things are becoming even more interesting. The top experts talked with emotion. The ordinary warriors were excited. They were shocked to hear Emperor Xiao call Emperor Lang a lowly bitch. Who would dare call her that? Then, they recognized the 10 war gods behind Emperor Xiao and became enthusiastic. It was Emperor Xiao. Emperor Xiao, one of the 4 emperors in the peak period of the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land, was as noble as Emperor Lang. He was also a little stronger. Emperor Lang had defeated him many years ago. But he was now back with his 10 war gods. Chapter 932, Emperor Xiao and Emperor Lang. Emperor Xiao, Jian Wushuang greeted, looking at Emperor Xiao. Well done, young man. Emperor Xiao looked at him appreciatively. It's unfortunate that Emperor Lang still chose Xia Mang. Otherwise. Jian Wushuang felt dejected. Emperor Xiao also turned sullen. Having observed the selection ceremony, he was well aware of what Emperor Lang had done. She'd sacrifice her reputation and even that of the entire country just for the marriage alliance with the Xia clan. How could she be so disgraceful? How dare you come here, Xiao? Emperor Lang cried, casting her cold gaze on Emperor Xiao. Humph. Shuang'er is also my daughter. You can't decide on her marriage alone. Emperor Xiao replied, You bitch, I've always known you to be a cruel person, but I never thought you'd go so far as not show any concern for our daughter. Since I'm here now, I won't let you make the decision for Shuang'er. Ha ha. With your strength alone. Emperor Lang retorted sarcastically as she stared at Emperor Xiao. You lost our battle and ran out of the Kingdom Tang with your followers. For many years you dared not show your face, yet you dare stop me today? How? With your 10 war gods? Of course not, Emperor Xiao answered coldly. I wouldn't have come today if I'm not fully prepared. Just then, more than 10 figures dashed out of the void and arrived at the drill ground. There were 13 of them, each emanating strong, steadfast aura that instantly pegged them as Dao masters. Their leader was a man dressed in purple that gave off a rather feral air. Many people on the stand recognized him at once. Bei Ming Hao. Isn't that Bei Ming Hao of the Bei Ming clan? There are also a few Dao masters of that clan. The rest are also Dao masters in the eternal world. Did Emperor Xiao invite all of them here? Bei Ming clan was also a top clan in the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land and was almost as good as the Xia clan. There were also quite a few solitary Dao masters with fairly good strength. Bei Ming clan. Emperor Lang's voice was icy cold. How audacious of you, Bei Ming Hao. Bei Ming Hao sneered but said nothing. It looks like you're here to avenge yourself, Emperor Lang said coldly while looking over at him. But this battle formation of yours isn't good enough to defeat me. Of course, this isn't all that I have to show. Emperor Xiao nodded before looking over at where the audience was seated. There, an elderly person with grey hair and a young-looking face stood up. Everyone was stunned to see who it was. Lord of Circis Island. Emperor Lang was taken aback, too. She did not care about the Bei Ming clan. They were a top clan with several Dao masters under them, but their Dao masters were only at rank 1 or rank 2. Bei Ming Hao was the best of them, but even he was only at the top level of rank 2. Lord of Circis Island was another story. Being the owner of Circis Island, he was undoubtedly one of the overlords of the eternal world. There were 6 Dao masters under his patronage, and each of them was incredibly powerful. Lord of Circis Island himself was a formidable opponent. He had stayed in the level of rank 3 Dao master for many years, and his strength was unfathomable. He ought to be evenly matched with Emperor Lang and Emperor Xiao themselves. Emperor Lang had to be careful when dealing with a person with such strength. She stared at him and asked coolly, "Lord of Circis Island, are you going to intervene?" "Emperor Lang, both you and Emperor Xiao are my friends and you were once a couple. I'm not supposed to intervene in this matter. However, what you've secretly done lately is against the will of heaven, and therefore I must intervene," Lord of Circis Island said. His words surprised the people on the drill ground. Had Emperor Lang done something that went against the will of heaven? What exactly did she do? Lord of Circis Island turned to look at the alchemy master in the audience and asked, "Alchemy master, can you watch over my daughter for me?" "No problem." The alchemy master smiled. "Thank you." Lord of Circis Island then turned to his daughter, Lin Wan. "Wanna, you've been asking me to help Jian Wushuang. Now I'll help him as you wish." "Father." Lin Wan was a little surprised. "Go now." Lord of Circis Island waved. Lin Wan nodded and went to take a seat next to the alchemy master. Finally, he jumped down from the stand and stood next to Emperor Xiao. "Very well, Lord of Circis Island." Emperor Lang laughed. She then looked around and addressed the crowd in a cold voice. "Who else? Who else is also here to help Xiao? Come out." "Me, too," said a cold voice as another figure jumped off the stand. This person had long bloody hair and wore a bloody robe. He was Jian Wushuang's senior brother, Shui Lingtian. Senior brother. Jian Wushuang looked at him. Shui Lingtian grinned. "Junior brother, I said I'd definitely help you in the event of mishaps." Master Blood Saber. Emperor Lang's fury was apparent in her cold voice. "You're the master of the Void Temple, are you really going to intervene in this matter?" "Ha ha. Emperor Lang, you misunderstood me," said a gentle voice. It belonged to a white-haired elder who had been sitting next to Shui Lingtian the whole time. He was also one of the 18 masters of the Void Temple. The white-haired elder smiled. "Emperor Lang, Master Blood Saber will act in his individual capacity today. His actions today have nothing to do with the Void Temple." "In his individual capacity? That's to say, the Void Temple won't be mad at me even if I kill him today?" Emperor Lang retorted coldly. "Correct." The white-haired elder gave a small nod. "Very well." Her voice was as cold as the snow in the coldest winter. "I thought this would be just an ordinary selection ceremony, but I didn't think there'd be so many unforeseen events and so many people to help Emperor Xiao. But that's fine too. Since you're all here, that saves me the time to go after you one by one. Today, I'll kill you. Whoever's in Emperor Xiao's camp has to die." Heavenly Guards. Emperor Lang's scream rang through the entire imperial palace. Figures dressed in golden robes rushed out of the imperial palace and went to her at an extraordinary speed. Chapter 933. The War Breaks Out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. There were 24 golden figures who had gathered behind Emperor Lang in total. Despite their expressionless faces, their aura was strong and steadfast. They were evidently Tao Masters. They're Emperor Lang's 24 heavenly guards. They're said to be Emperor Lang's most elite force and they're all genuine Tao Masters. Those on the drill ground exclaimed. "Xia Yu." Emperor Lang turned to Xia Yu. "This is all happening because of our marriage alliance. Does your clan intend to help?" "Fret not, Your Highness. Since we've formed a marriage alliance, we're now a family. Whoever is against you is also against our clan. Naturally, we're on your side," Xia Yu said with a laugh. Xia Yu then crushed a token. The crushed token caused a space wave to break out and a wormhole to appear in the void. Then, numerous people filed out of the wormhole. The 9 of them, coupled with Xia Yu, Elder He, and Xia Mang, meant there were now 12 members of the Xia clan present. They stood together, emanating dangerous auras. The 12 Tao Masters of the Xia clan were all here. "Emperor Xiao, it's been a long time. How are you?" asked a booming voice that resembled the growl of a beast. "Xia Dao." Emperor Xiao frowned as he stared at the leader of the Xia clan, who was a burly man with brown hair. His name was Xia Dao. He was the master of the Xia clan as well as Xia Mang's father. While he was not as strong as the ancestor of the Xia clan, he was also an overlord of the eternal world. Not even Emperor Xiao would dare underestimate him. Today, Xia Dao had even brought all the other Dao masters in his clan with him. You're here too, Lord of Circis Island. Looks like you've chosen to side with Emperor Xiao. Xia Dao narrowed his eyes at Lord of Circis Island. Correct. Lord of Circis Island nodded. What a pity. Xia Dao shook his head. I had previously entertained the idea of forming a marriage alliance with you, but it wasn't fulfilled due to some mishaps. Now that we couldn't be a family and you're in Emperor Xiao's camp, I'd have to keep you here forever. Lord of Circis Island laughed. I've lived for too long anyway. I'd be happy to have you help me end it. Enough of the chat. Let's settle our affairs here today, you bitch. Emperor Xiao sneered. Humph. You suffered such a terrible defeat back then, and today, you'll experience the same. Emperor Leng's eyes glinted with a powerful killing intent. Go! Emperor Leng's command prompted everyone in her camp to move, including her 24 heavenly guards and the Dao masters from the Xia clan. Take care of yourself, young man, Emperor Xiao said, casting a glance at Jian Wushuang. I will. Jian Wushuang nodded solemnly. He was no longer the same youngster that Emperor Xiao knew in the past. He was now qualified to participate in this war today. Kill! Everyone in Emperor Xiao's camp also began moving following his command. This included the 10 war gods with Di Jing at the helm, the Beiming clan, and other Dao masters that Emperor Xiao invited, such as Lord of Circis Island and Master Bloodsaber. Jian Wushuang gripped his Blood Mountain sword firmly and felt his aura skyrocket. He swiftly readied himself to attack. The camps of Emperor Xiao and Emperor Leng had more than 60 Dao masters in total. They were about to collide. Hurry and retreat. We should retreat now. Everyone on the drill ground panicked when the two camps started to attack each other. Tens of millions of people at the drill ground withdrew with unprecedented shock and madness. They were very clear that the war between so many Dao masters would cause incredible chaos and wanted nothing more than to retreat as far as possible for fear of getting involved. Even a battle between two Dao masters would spell disastrous consequences for anyone unlucky enough to be nearby. Yet, there were more than 60 experts at the level of Dao masters in the camps of Emperor Xiao and Emperor. That was such a big amount. Emperor Xiao, Emperor Leng, Lord of Circis Island, and Xia Dao reigned supreme among all these experts. Nobody wanted to get involved in such a war. Even the strong experts, including Deep Sea Palace Master and Elder Deadwood, in the audience had retreated to a distant place. None of them wanted to get involved because there was no promise that they would survive it. The experts from both camps finally collided in the void. Boom! 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 There was a terrible explosion in the sky. The war had just begun, but there were already more than a dozen large black holes in the void. The smaller ones were almost 10 meters in diameter, while the bigger ones were more than 30 meters in diameter. Terrible forces were also directed onto the ground. Jian Wushuang and Xia Mang's battle had previously created many pits, but the entire drill ground was immediately reduced to ruins after a detonation. The drill ground continued to collapse despite having already been reduced to ruins. The spiritual powers of different colors formed spiritual storms one after another, sweeping in all directions. The entire battlefield was completely enveloped in an unprecedented storm. Those weaker than a Dao master would be killed if they touched the storm. Jian Wushuang, who lived in defiance of the natural order, was the only exception. The terrifying storm continued to expand at a frantic pace. The entire battlefield was also expanding wildly. The war broke out on the vast drill ground, but it was not large enough to accommodate the many powerful Dao masters. Before long, the battlefield covered more than half of the Imperial Palace. Bang! Nearly 100 buildings in one corner of the Imperial Palace fell apart following a loud explosion. They collapsed into smithereens that were swept away by a gust of wind. Swish! The ground in the center of the Imperial Palace was ruthlessly cleaved open with a flash of blade light, and a huge knife mark was left there. The mark was over 300 meters deep and made for a terrifying sight. Chapter 934. Instant extermination in a 1 versus 3 battle. It is too terrifying. What inhuman feats! Are they gods? A full-fledged war with more than 60 Dao Masters? How many Dao Masters can there be in the entire eternal world? Innumerable figures retreated far from the imperial palace to watch the unprecedented war unfolding in the center of the palace. Though they were far away, they could still feel the terrible fluctuations coming from the battlefield. There were unprecedented astonishment and awe in their eyes. Dao Master in the eternal world was tantamount to overlords in other worlds. They all possessed frightening power that was capable of destroying everything. It was rare enough to find 2 Dao Masters battling in the eternal world, never mind a war with more than 60 of them. This was a war that could frighten heaven and move earth. Meanwhile, over on the battlefield. Bitch, I'll kill you today. Emperor Xiao said coldly, his body filled with unprecedented killing intent. You're not qualified to do so. Emperor Leng was also filled with killing intent. Bang! 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 There were dozens of impacts between the two in an instant. Suddenly, the impact pushed Emperor Leng backward. Your strength hasn't improved even after so many years. Emperor Xiao sneered. Damn it! Emperor Leng was sullen. If Jian Wushuang hasn't cut off my arm, did you think you'd have an advantage over me? It was indeed unfortunate for Emperor Leng to have her arm cut off by Jian Wushuang. Her ability to self-repair was amazing, and under ordinary circumstances, her recovery would have been almost instantaneous. However, the sword essence from Sunrise Sword Emperor contained the destruction sword principle. It was so powerful that it halted her recovery process. Thus, Emperor Leng's one arm remained missing. She was disadvantaged with only one arm left, making her an easy target for Emperor Xiao. In another battle. Xia Dao, show me how you're going to keep me here forever. Lord of Circe's Island's voice was ethereal as if it came from far away. Humph! You'll see it right away. Following Xia Dao's snort, a huge axe appeared in his hand. He found himself standing next to Lord of Circe's Island after taking a single step. Since the beginning of the selection ceremony, Jian Wushuang's senior brother, Shuelingtian, had picked Xia Yu, the great elder of the Xia clan, as his opponent. Xia Yu's strength was not as good as Xia Dao's, but he had also reached the level of rank 3 Dao Master. His strength was similar to Shuelingtian's. They had been at odds since the fight between Jian Wushuang and Xia Mang. With the outbreak of the war, they immediately targeted each other. Both sides sent out 6 of their best Dao Masters to battle each other. The remaining Dao Masters also found their respective opponents. Jian Wushuang had been eyeing one person since the beginning of the war. It was none other than Xia Mang. Xia Mang had been hurt badly in the contest earlier, but his jade had saved his life. Jian Wushuang didn't believe that he would have another life-saving jade with him. Go to hell! The killing intent surged from Jian Wushuang's eyes as he charged at his opponent. Jian Wushuang! Xia Mang was terrified when he saw Jian Wushuang rushing toward him. He had mocked Jian Wushuang when Emperor Leng announced him to be Lang Wushuang's husband, but he knew very well that he was much weaker than Jian Wushuang. He knew he was no match for Jian Wushuang in a one-on-one battle. The latter's sword formation would just kill him outright. Therefore he called another 2 Dao Masters next to him, saying, Xia Qi, Elder Dong, let's kill Jian Wushuang together. Xia Qi and Elder Dong joined Xia Mang without hesitation and rushed toward Jian Wushuang. 3 Dao Masters. Jian Wushuang's expression shifted ever so slightly. Don't worry. Xia Mang is the only one out of them who have reached the top of rank 1. The other 2 are just at the medium level of rank 1. You'll be able to fight them. Jiyu King's voice resounded inside him. Being in a lower realm, Jian Wushuang could not see the specific strength of these Dao Masters. But Jiyu King could see it. They're all rank 1 Dao Masters. Jian Wushuang felt reassured. Then let's fight. The Blood Mountain sword appeared in Jian Wushuang's hand following a roar, carrying astonishing power. Next to him, the 9th Heaven sword formation formed by 36 1-meter swords let out strong power. Jian Wushuang's killing intent surged and in a flash, he clashed with the 3 Dao Masters. Scram! Jian Wushuang bellowed, and the strong power of the Blood Mountain sword skyrocketed. Boosted by the forces of the 24 levels of the secret skills, which was 72 times stronger, he swung his sword. However, before using the sword, Jian Wushuang had also sent out an unearthly energy. That energy was from the mind-controlling secret skill, one of the 3 secret skills of the ancient god clan. The mind-controlling secret skill was used to attack a person's consciousness. After Jian Wushuang reached the eternal realm and his strength skyrocketed, the power of this skill improved too. Furthermore, his consciousness was also much stronger than typical Dao masters. In addition, the divergent bloodstone had also increased the power of this skill. The attack almost hit the 3 Dao masters at the same time. They were all impacted to a certain extent. Thus, when Jian Wushuang's sword arrived, the 3 Dao masters could barely put up a resistance. Bang! 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 The 3 figures were forced backward nearly at the same time, but just as they were retreating. Whoosh! Sharp, harsh wind-breaking sounds and fitful explosion noises filled the void. The 9th Heaven Sword formation transformed into numerous meteors that aimed for Elder Dawn at an amazing speed. Elder Dawn was subsequently beheaded with his eyes were still wide open as if he could not believe what had just happened. The 3 of them, 3 Dao masters, had teamed up to fight a solo Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang ended up killed one of them with just one move. Chapter 935. The seal was broken. How is this possible? Xia Mang was stunned. How could Jian Wushuang kill one of them when the 3 of them had gone up against him together? Does this younger still have tricks up his sleeve? Xia Mang thought in fear. Indeed, Jian Wushuang possessed unusual skills. He was unable to use his mind-controlling secret skill in his battle with Xia Mang earlier, but in this battle against 3 Dao masters, he surprisingly unleashed the skill in combination with the 9th Heaven Sword formation. It was so effective that he instantly killed one of his opponents. This was the first Dao master that Jian Wushuang killed. It was unusual for an Eternal Realm expert to kill a Dao master. However, few noticed this as 3 Dao masters had died earlier in the battle. Master Mubai, Jian Wushuang is too powerful. We can't beat him, Xianxia said. I know. Xia Mang was sullen. I've already asked Elder He for help. Elder He. Xianxia was pleasantly surprised. Though both sides were evenly matched, Emperor Leng's camp outnumbered the other side. Thus, they were able to team up and confront their enemies together. The gloomy and cold Elder He had been fighting together with a heavenly guard against a war god of the other camp not far away. He withdrew from that fight after receiving Xia Mang's request and hastily rushed over to the latter. Elder He, Xia Mang greeted. Elder He stared fixedly at Jian Wushuang without replying to him. Kid, I know that you're the one who killed Second Master, he said. Back then, he had accompanied Xia Yang to go to Circe Island for a marriage proposal. In the end, the proposal failed and Xia Yang was even killed. When he returned to the Xia clan, he was punished for failing to protect his master. Since then, he held a grudge against Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang recognized Elder He, too. Be careful. This person ought to be rank 2 Dao Master. Jiu King's voice resounded inside him. Rank 2 Dao Master. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrunk. That means he has opened up 2 Dao. There were 3 ranks for a Dao Master. 1 rank meant 1 Dao. A rank 1 Dao Master had opened up 1 Dao, a rank 2 Dao Master had opened up 2 Dao, and so on. But his Dao is just at the normal level, and his at the lower level among rank 2 Dao Masters. You can try fighting him, Jiu King said. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded, and in next moment, dozens of flowing lights burst out of his interspatial ring. The flowing lights merged and formed the 9th Heaven Sword formation that hovered in front of him. This was the second sword formation of the 9th Heaven Sword formation. Kill! Jian Wushuang wielded the lavender lightsaber formed out of 72 1-meter swords and swung it at the void. With a sharp and harsh sound, the lightsaber struck Elder He like a rapidly rotating awl. The crazing rotating awl struck Elder He's head with an incredible power at lightning speed. The attack would have killed an ordinary rank 1 Dao Master before he could react. Elder, he was different. Humph. Elder, he gave his sleeve a flick and grey mist began gushing out. The mist gathered and soon formed a grey cloud. When the all crashed into the vast and mysterious grey cloud, it was as if it hit a mass of cotton. It went through the cloud effortlessly. What a joke. With another flick of his sleeve, Elder, he sent the ninth heaven sword formation flying back at Jian Wushuang, along with the grey cloud. What kind of skill is this? Jian Wushuang was shocked. His Tao might be weak, but it's very strange. Be careful, Jiu King said. Do I need you to tell me that? Jian Wushuang retorted. He then threw himself backward at a high speed. However, the grey cloud was even faster and it soon enveloped him completely. He couldn't see anything in the cloud and was beginning to lose his consciousness, too. Boom! When he heard a wind-breaking sound next to him, he hastily turned around. However, it was too late, for a vigorous palm smashed heavily onto his chest. Phut! Jian Wushuang coughed up blood as he was thrown out of the cloud at high speed. His face turned deathly pale. Over on the stand, Leng Rushuang witnessed everything happening to him. The war had been going on for quite a while and more than half of the imperial palace was already in ruins. The experts were also engaged in heated battles, but no matter how mad the situation became, no one tried to attack Leng Rushuang. No one wanted to hurt her and thus kept their distance from her. Therefore, she stood in place as a spectator of the battle since the beginning. Her beautiful face was pale with fright, but the most visible emotion she was expressing was anger. Yes, it was anger. Her anger was ignited when she saw Elder he severely injuring Jian Wushuang. Why? Mother, why? She whispered. Her voice was so low that only she could hear it. The rest were naturally oblivious, as focused on the battle as they were. For all my life, I've never once disobeyed your words or went against your wishes. When father broke things off with you and subsequently suffered defeat in your hands, I still stayed with you despite knowing it was your fault. So why would you treat me this way? I love Jian Wushuang. I want to marry him. Why would you stop me? Why? Leng Rushuang bellowed, her voice sending tremors through the world. There were unprecedented anger and madness in her eyes. There had been a heavy seal placed on her a long time ago to seal the icy heart poison inside her body. It was also meant to seal something more terrifying and inconceivable inside her. Now, alongside the crazed look in her eyes, the seal was unexpectedly broken. Chapter 936, Primordial Great Sin. The fierce battle between the remaining Tao masters of the two camps continued. The battlefield was divided into three sections: Emperor Lang against Emperor Xiao, Lord of Circis Island, against Xia Dao, and Shuelingqian against Xia Yu. Emperor Leng was a little weaker than Emperor Xiao, but she was still persevering. Lord of Circis Island was evenly matched with Xia Dao. The only confrontation where one opponent was clearly superior was the one between Shuelingqian and Xia Yu. How could this be? How could Master Blood Saber be so powerful? Both shocked and horrified, Xia Yu could barely keep fighting on. He appeared to be in a very pathetic state. Shuelingqian's strength was far beyond his expectations. He became a rank 3 expert after opening 3 Dao, and his Dao was fairly strong. Even so, Shuelingqian completely crushed him to the point where he could barely put up a fight. Shuelingqian was also a rank 3 expert, but his Dao was even stronger. Moreover, he possessed an extraordinary saber which was much more powerful than Xia Yu's emperor weapon. Fortunately, Xia Yu had a Dao which was especially used for defense. Otherwise, he would be utterly defeated. I've fought him before, but he wasn't this strong then. Xia Yu thought. Just then, buzz! Out of nowhere, an unimaginably cold aura erupted. The aura seemed to have frozen the entire battlefield, even time and space. The Tao masters in the Imperial Palace halted their movements the moment they detected the aura. That's. They turned to look at the source of the icy-cold aura in surprise. They were startled to see who it was. Emperor Xiao and Emperor Lang, who had been fighting fiercely in the center of the battlefield, also stopped after detecting the aura. Then, they realized it came from their daughter. No. Emperor Xiao's expression changed drastically. Mad! She's gone mad! Emperor Lang cried, appearing terrified. She released the seal? Does she want to die? Only both of them knew just what the seal was for. That was why both of them were so shocked. Leng Rushuang looked up, her beautiful eyes filled with endless killing intent. Swoosh! In a flash, she appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. She faced Elder He with her back against Jian Wushuang. You're the one who hurt him. Her voice was as cold as the 9 serenities. Elder He frowned, not knowing the reason for Leng Rushuang's sudden change. However, her cold aura frightened him. Nevertheless, he nodded without hesitation in response to her question. He wouldn't show fear as a rank 2 Dao master. He was ready to follow up with a verbal answer. But before he could open his mouth, Leng Rushuang was already taking action. She appeared in front of Elder He, moving as swiftly and unpredictably as a ghost. She was so fast that it felt as if she was really a specter. Before Elder He could react, she patted his forehead with her beautiful and fair palm. It was a simple, gentle pat. The moment her palm came into contact with his forehead, a terrible chill took over his entire body. The coldness was the result of Leng Rushuang's icy heart poison. Elder He was stupefied as his body started to turn white, first from the forehead, then to the face, then to the torso, and finally the whole body. In the end, he was turned into an ice sculpture. Then, as a random gale of energy swept the area, the ice sculpture shattered into countless pieces before eventually vanishing in the void. In a split of a second, a rank 2 Dao master had disappeared in a puff of smoke. Those who witnessed this became horrified, including the Dao masters on the battlefield. They had watched a rank 2 Dao master turned into an ice sculpture while alive and then broken into pieces. What kind of skill was Leng Rushuang using? This. Jian Wushuang's eyes were full of amazement. He had seen this skill before. He had seen Leng Rushuang kill with the same skill in the ancient world. But they were now in the eternal world, and the Dao masters here were far more powerful. Elder He was a rank 2 Dao master whom Jian Wushuang couldn't win against even after using his full strength, yet Leng Rushuang was able to kill him with a gentle pat. Great sin! Primordial great sinner! Oh my God! King Jiyu called out in horror, his voice reverberating in Jian Wushuang's mind. Primordial great sinner? What's that? Jian Wushuang immediately asked. There's no time to explain the details, but basically, your little girlfriend's life is a tragedy. She's destined to suffer endless torture, and the reason should be related to her parents, Jiyu King said solemnly. She's destined to suffer. Jian Wushuang was startled. Leng Rushuang was expressionless after killing Elder He and merely looked around coldly. Who else wants to hurt him? There was an unfathomable killing intent in her voice. Her cold voice and the surging icy aura around her made every Dao master on the battlefield ill at ease. Xia Mang had already run far away in fear. This is madness! Emperor Leng bellowed, staring straight at her daughter. Shuang'er, are you crazy? How can you break the seal in your body just for Jian Wushuang? Don't you know what you'll face after doing this? There'll be endless pain and torture. It'll be a life worse than death. Is such a life worth it just for the sake of a man? Chapter 937, National Master. Is such a life worth it just for the sake of a man? Emperor Lang's cold voice reverberated in the air, her every word ringing loud and clear in Leng Rushuang's head. Is it worth it? Leng Rushuang muttered. Even so, her lips were curved into a smile. She then looked up at Emperor Leng. The only hint of warmth I've ever felt in my life was when he healed me in the ancient world. You ask me if it's worth it? Of course. Her voice was as cold as ice and carried a never-before-seen determination. Her resolution was firmer than ever, as reflected in her eyes. Whatever happened today, and regardless of what would happen in the future, she would never regret it. You idiot! Emperor Lang continued to reprimand her daughter. Emperor Xiao strangely didn't say anything. Jian Wushuang, who stood next to Leng Rushuang, was thoroughly stupefied. Emperor Leng's words were still ringing in his head. Once the seal is released, Leng Rushuang will be endlessly tortured and live a life that is worse than death. Jiyu King, what the hell is going on? What's going on? The surge of Jian Wushuang's emotions was turbulent and violent. It's a long story, so let's that aside for the time being. Your little girlfriend really loves you, seeing as she'd break her seal for you. If it's possible to do so in the future, you should treat her kindly, said Jiyu King. Easy for you to say. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. On the battlefield, Emperor Leng looked coolly at her daughter. With a snort, she looked away and her gaze began roaming around. When she saw the situation on the battlefield, she couldn't help furrowing her brows. Emperor Xiao had been well prepared for their battle. Not only did he invite the Beiming clan and a large number of solitary experts, Lord of Circis Island and Master Bloodsaber of Void Temple were also present. From the looks of it, his camp wasn't any weaker than hers. She noticed that Master Bloodsaber was thoroughly crushing Xia Yu in their battle. Meanwhile, she was also at a disadvantage against Emperor Xiao because she had yet to recover from Jian Wushuang's attack earlier. To make things worse, Leng Rushuang had released her seal and even used such a strange and frightening skill to kill a rank 2 Dao master of the Xia clan. She had thrown the power equilibrium of the two opposing camps off balance. Her camp was at a disadvantage now. If Master Bloodsaber killed Xia Yu or Leng Rushuang ended up slaughtering everyone, she would be completely defeated. Emperor Leng suddenly looked up as she pondered this. National Master, look at the situation. Aren't you going to make your move? If you don't make your move now, our many years of effort will be in vain. Her cold voice echoed through heaven and earth. The Dao masters on the battlefield as well as the spectating experts outside the Imperial Palace were stunned. National Master. The mysterious National Master from the Tang Kingdom of the Eastern Land? He. The laughter seemed to contain a kind of magic power. The experts couldn't stop themselves from looking toward the source of the laughter. They watched as a slender figure appear next to Emperor Leng. This person was dressed in an old grey robe and held a strip of cloth in his hand. On the cloth were the words, "Fortune telling." He had grey hair and a wizened face. His eyes were so dark that they were unreadable and there seemed to be green flames burning behind his pupils. His aura was so plain that he came off looking like an ordinary soothsayer in the market. However, those who recognized him knew that this ordinary-looking old geezer was terribly powerful. Years ago, there had been a civil war in the Tang Kingdom of the Eastern Land. Emperor Xiao had severed all ties with Emperor Leng and they waged a massive war against each other. Emperor Xiao was superior to Emperor Leng both in terms of prestige and power in the Tang Kingdom, but he still ended up tasting defeat. There was only a reason for his defeat: the soothsayer. This is the mysterious National Master of the Tang Kingdom of the Eastern Land, the creator of Divine Sea and the Blood Eagle Amor. Jian Wushuang thought as he looked at the soothsayer. He had heard of this National Master before. Moreover, he had been quite stunned after learning about the National Master's skills. Divine Sea could crush experts below the level of Dao Masters. On the other hand, the Blood Eagle armor not only possessed strong defensive capabilities, but it could also enhance the user's offensive power. It was unlike anything that Jian Wushuang had ever seen in the Eternal World. He was the creator of both skills. Without his help, Emperor Leng wouldn't have defeated Emperor Xiao. You finally showed up. Emperor Xiao's expression turned grim at the sight of the soothsayer. No one was more well versed with the National Master's skills than him, which was why he remained in fear of the latter. The National Master was the only one out of the top experts of the Eternal World that he was afraid of. I didn't plan on showing up so early. After all, your friend hasn't shown up yet. The soothsayer smiled. Friend? Emperor Leng frowned. She didn't expect Emperor Xiao to still have reinforcements that had yet to appear. As expected of a person who could frighten junior brother Xiao. I thought I hid well, but you still found me, said an ethereal voice that came from outside the Imperial Palace. The voice had clearly come from a faraway place, but its owner had already appeared next to Emperor Xiao. The grey-haired man was dressed in a white robe. Though he appeared to be an old man, the skin of his face was finer than most youngsters. He looked at the soothsayer and Emperor Leng indifferently, as if he was looking into the air. He had an ethereal and incomparably unique temperament. It's you, Emperor Yun. Emperor Lang's pupils shrunk in fright. Everyone else on the battlefield was also stunned. Emperor Yun. There had been 4 emperors in the golden age of the Tang Kingdom of the Eastern Land, and Emperor Yun was ranked 3rd among them. He had gone missing for years after Emperor Qing's death, but he had now shown himself again. Chapter 938. Stronger? Emperor Yun, even you stand with this Emperor Xiao against me too. Emperor Lang regarded Emperor Yun with anger and surprise flaring in her eyes. We are all fellow disciples of our teacher, junior sister. As your senior brother, I will usually side no one but just order. But you have crossed the line this time. Not even our teacher will rest at ease at the sight of the atrocities you have committed. Emperor Yun replied coldly. The 4 emperors of Tang Empire of the East were all fellow apprentices of the Tang Emperor. Emperor Yun was the oldest amongst the 4, being the eldest senior brother of his younger siblings in arms and tutelage, followed by Emperor Qing and Emperor Xiao. Emperor Leng was the 4th amongst them, the youngest junior sister. Then again, Emperor Qing wielded the greatest strength and power among the 4, followed by Emperor Xiao by a mere hair's breadth. Emperor Yun and Emperor Leng have always been equal in combat. Our teacher. HMPH. For many years, the teacher has yet to show himself. None could say if he still lives. But I would hardly flinch even if he is here before us today. All that I have done is for the good of the Tang Empire. Emperor Lang retorted loudly. Insolent fool. Still until now, you have no remorse of what you have done. With a stare turned cold as steel, Emperor Yun declared solemnly, as the most senior of our teacher's students, I will exact judgment in his name today and cleanse anew the name of our following. Judgment? You? We will see who will have the last laugh. Emperor Lang sneered and turned to the soothsayer beside her, saying simply, I will leave everything to you, National Master. Ha ha ha. The soothsayer grinned strangely as he stepped forth slowly. Up in the sky, Emperor Xiao and Emperor Yun were floating abreast in the air, watching as the soothsayer stepped forth. Their faces turned hard and intense as the older man approached. Is this the National Master which you have so much fear for, junior brother Xiao? Emperor Yun asked in a low voice. He is. Emperor Xiao replied with a nod before he continued seriously. I have had the upper hand during my last duel with the bloody woman. It was he who had a hand in my loss. Despite fighting with the blasted woman against me, I am sure that he is very much stronger than I am. Moreover, his methods and techniques are strange and unusual. Despite being well prepared this time, that I have even implored to you for help, I am afraid we have only 3/10 of a chance to defeat him. 3/10 of a chance. Emperor Yun uttered incredulously with shock and dismay. Let me see how capable this National Master is. With a cold and deathly glare, Emperor Yun leaped into the air before he finished, gliding away with the grace of a floating cloud. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew suddenly in the air, sending for whoosh and a forceful surge of air. Open! Proud and stern, Emperor Yun's voice rang out from the air as he remained at the center of the raging winds around him. Without warning, he cast forth a blow from his palm. The blow from his palm ripped through the continuum of space before him, causing a huge black hole to appear. Spanning more than hundreds of feet wide, the black hole grew vehemently at impossible speeds, drawing in all mass and matter upon itself while it engorged hungrily at everything it could draw. The growing mass of darkness hurled itself at the old soothsayer, threatening to devour him whole. Ha ha ha. Interesting. The soothsayer gave a sinister giggle as he remained standing, waiting patiently for the black hole to bore down upon him. It had grew to more than 1,000 feet wide as its jaws descended on him. Just then, his hand raised and tapped at the center of the mass of darkness gently with a finger. Simple and yet ordinary was his stroke, yet it held a power mysterious and strange. The humongous cavity of pure darkness which had grown into more than 1,000 feet immediately screeched painfully like a howling animal in agony before it collapsed and disintegrated into nothingness. The magic of the black hole had been undone even before it had unleashed its powers. The collapse of the black hole caused a huge vacuum that brought about turbulent and chaotic winds pouring from all directions. This generated a space rift in the skies overlooking the entire imperial city, laying waste to the once illustrious city, leaving many structures and buildings in the city crushed and crumbled. The horrific display of power by the soothsayer left the fighting Tao masters and warriors, including those watching from the outskirts of the imperial city, awestruck. With such ease, he had undone my magic. Emperor Yun gasped in horror as all color had left his face. Suddenly, everything around them turned completely pitch black. The entire world was shrouded by utter darkness that tolerated not even one glimmer of light. A terrifying reign of literal darkness endured as a strong and unmistakable aura of bloodthirsty malice simmered in the air, sending fear and shivers down the spines of everyone around as if they had stepped through the frightening gates of hell. The stares and glares of everyone around instantly rested upon the origin of the hateful aura, Emperor Xiao himself. Emperor Xiao scoffed once. Suddenly, his saber swung forth dangerously with the force that he had been channeling. So powerful was the stroke that it could even send tremors across the heavens and earth. The blade shone with a pale, deathly flash as it clove the skies and earth into a half, sending a bright flash across the eerie scrim of darkness that persisted in their surroundings and blinded those who had tried to look. The terrible flash of light tore through the air, the speed of its travel unfathomable and beyond comprehension. Yet, faced with such a terrible stroke, the same assured grin remained upon the gnarly face of the old soothsayer who stood and waited for his adversary's stroke to fall upon him. Whoosh! This shining brilliance from Emperor Xiao's stroke sliced through the figure of the old soothsayer, exiting through his body and continued its way to the huge palace in the city. The flash of light of the aura of Emperor Xiao's blow crashed into the huge and massive palace complex, reducing the countless of sections and adjacent buildings and the palace itself, once the jewel of the imperial city, into nothing but dust and debris. Desolation and devastation was everywhere that even the earth had been flipped over. With only one stroke from his saber, Emperor Xiao had brought down the once majestic and imposing palace complex of the Tang Empire, leaving nothing but filth and grime. But the soothsayer, having been hit by the stroke earlier, was hardly injured as his figure reformed. Floating in the air, the old soothsayer continued wearing a sinister grin as he remained unfazed as if the stroke had barely grazed him. How is this possible? Emperor Xiao stammered with shock. He had known that the old soothsayer was strong and powerful, but never had he expected such a monstrous difference between their strengths. Instead, the soothsayer had appeared to be even stronger than he was during their previous encounter. Emperor Xiao and Emperor Yun, two of the 4 emperors of the Tang Empire of the East. There was an inexplicable and yet distinct twinkle in the soothsayer's eyes as he spoke casually. You have done well to reach such remarkable heights as Tao Masters. You both might have been able to defeat me if you both had joined hands in our previous encounter. But I am afraid, things are completely different now. After all, my strength has recovered much after those years. Chapter 939, Critical Help. His strength has recovered much. A frown creased upon the brows of both Emperor Xiao and Emperor Yun as a foreboding dread crept into them. Has his strength reached that level? Emperor Yun asked himself quietly. That level? Emperor Xiao asked, startled. By that, Emperor Yun referred to a height which their teacher, the Tang Emperor, had once achieved. Even Emperor Qing, the strongest of the 4 emperors, had nearly reached that very level of powers so close he was from reaching his goal that his fingers could barely graze the threshold. Still, that was none other than Emperor Qing himself. The two were still leagues and leagues behind. This is bad. Emperor Xiao gasped with dismay. Right at the moment, the figure of the soothsayer who stood before them shimmered and disappeared. Swoosh! In the flash of an instant, the soothsayer reappeared behind Emperor Xiao and Emperor Yun. Such speed! Overcome by shock, both Emperor Xiao and Emperor Yun felt their blood leaving their face. The speed that the old soothsayer had unleashed confirmed their suspicions. He had reached that very level of strength. You have failed before, Emperor Xiao. Why do you persist on such a vain quest? The soothsayer's eerie snicker reached into the ears of Emperor Xiao and Emperor Yun. Emperor Xiao and Emperor Yun turned around immediately. They had barely turned, only to see that the old soothsayer was flailing the sleeve of his robe as he cast forth a terrible force of energy from within its folds. Bang! Bang! Emperor Xiao and Emperor Yun both felt something exploding within their bodies instantly, followed by a huge mouthful of blood that rushed up their throats. Vomiting furiously, the pair immediately plummeted from the sky, crashing down into the earth. Boom! A fresh crater had appeared in addition to the already wretched state of the land ravaged by battle and carnage. There came a sudden groan and another crashing crescendo. The crater had disappeared, replaced by a deep and bottomless abyss. Emperor Xiao and Emperor Yun had been struck so badly that they have both been cast deep into the abyss that no signs of life came from the darkness below. This sent a shiver of silence across the entire battlefield. The Tao masters and warriors fighting all paused in their tracks and beheld, with fear and awe, the invincibility of the old soothsayer. Emperor Xiao and Emperor Yun are both frightening monstrosities in their own right. Yet, now, right before the eyes of everyone present, they have been pummeled into ignominious defeat like a helpless bug before the overwhelming strength of the old soothsayer. What indomitable strength! Emperor Xiao! Jian Wushuang was also equally startled by the spectacle. Good gracious! What came before were merely ordinary Tao masters despite their strengths and powers. Yet this person, he is of an utterly different class. The Jiyu King's frantic cries resounded over Jian Wushuang's mind. The terrible sight of the undefeatable soothsayer who was afloat in mid-air became the center of everyone's attention. His throbbing eyes, flashing with a manic glint, turned and bore straight into Jian Wushuang. Ha ha ha! Never would I expect that I would encounter one who is learned in the methods of inverse cultivation here in this domain. An eerily ghastly laugh emitted from the throat of the old soothsayer. His eyes flared as he held Jian Wushuang in his gaze. A student of the methods of inverse cultivations. Oh, the irony of fates. You are a rare breed, even in the wide vastness of this domain. If only I have met you sooner. I might even make you my personal disciple. It's a pity that you have chosen the wrong side. And for that, I will have you slay you now, for you leave me no choice. With that, the soothsayer's figure shimmered once more and disappeared. Be careful, Jian Wushuang. The piercing cry of the Jiyu King clamored hectically in Jian Wushuang's mind. Jian Wushuang felt his eyes contracting instantly as his foe made his move. For the first time in his life, he felt an alarming sensation tingling in his mind, warning him of grave danger the moment the soothsayer had disappeared. Without any hesitation, he kicked at the ground and leaped, trying his best to retreat to safety as fast as he could. Ha ha ha, you can't escape. The shrill and eerie giggle resounded once more. So fast was his speed a blinding flash he turned into with a quickness that startled even Emperor Xiao and Emperor Yun. A speed so fast that Jian Wushuang could never hope to match. The soothsayer was so close to catching up with Jian Wushuang when suddenly, a cold and frosty aura surged towards him. Ah! The brows of the old soothsayer rose, puzzled, as he turned. The sight of Lung Wushuang, terrible and cold, in her rippling robes of flowing white filled his sight as the frosty coldness pricked at him incessantly. You dare lay a finger on him? Lung Wushuang's voice hummed icily through the air. With a wave of her hand, she summoned a white, icy wave of force and cast forth the energies she wielded, turning the air before her into ice instantly. Lung Wushuang thrust forth her palm, sending forth blasts of icy jets shooting at the soothsayer. HMPH, parlor tricks. The soothsayer sneered with disdain. He remained rooted to where he was, summoning merely a flicker of flames from his eyes. Swoosh! Jet-black flames burst forth suddenly, burning him and lighting up the skies in a voracious inferno that feasted on the abundance of oxygen around him, dispelling all the coldness and iciness that Lung Wushuang had summoned earlier. I would never have shown you mercy if not for the fact that you are Emperor Lung's daughter. Begone now. With his ending words, the soothsayer roared, sending forth a blistering heat wave of black flames that turned everything around him into a sea of flames which sweltering heat forced even Lung Wushuang away. The soothsayer had not stayed his feet. In a split second later, he reappeared directly behind Jian Wushuang. D. The soothsayer stretched out his finger, pointing at Jian Wushuang's fleeing back. No! Jian Wushuang felt fear and panic as he felt his face turning pale. Blasted! Jian Wushuang could hear the Jiyu King exclaiming loudly within him. What seemed to be a simple point with his finger had in fact sent a blast of force that shot through the air with terrifying speed and intensity, leaving a corkscrew of air currents in its wake. It caught up to Jian Wushuang in an instant, leaving him no opening to maneuver to safety as it struck him directly with a massive and frightening force. Bang! Jian Wushuang felt a faint hum from within him, followed by a huge explosion that blasted a huge and bloody hole on Jian Wushuang's torso. With a cavity as large as a bowl, the force had driven through Jian Wushuang's chest and exited from his back. Even so, Jian Wushuang could still feel residual energies of the force within him, churning angrily as the energies gnawed and gnashed at his life force. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang was losing control of his own movements, plunging straight down towards the ground. Beside him, Leng Rushuang watched with horror as Jian Wushuang fell. No, no! Leng Rushuang cried out loud, the strong and terrible cold aura emanating from her instantly soared at an unprecedented pace. With just the blink of an eye, she had achieved a new-found state of strength. I will kill you! Utter rage and malice hemmed Leng Rushuang's threatening words. White and icy mists began to surround and encompass around Leng Rushuang. Despite its seemingly harmless appearance, a mere strand of the fog held sufficient energies to annihilate an ordinary Dao master. The white foggy veil enclosed around Leng Rushuang, drastically raising her powers that now began to erupt. The sight of the falling Jian Wushuang was also witnessed by one other person aside from Leng Rushuang, Lingqian, who was equally terrified watching his junior brother being mortally injured. Junior brother! Lingqian's face expression twisted with rage and hate as he glared at the soothsayer with burning eyes. From his robes, he produced a token in his hand. Lingqian crushed the token and immediately uttered a swift message. Teacher! Junior brother is in grave danger. We need critical help. Chapter 940, The Calamitous Stomp. Far away at the ancient sect of the Firmament Territory, silence reigned with an despotic authority across the fastness of the stronghold of the sect. The disciples of the sect, including the palace masters of the Dao palaces, have all left to take part in a hunting tournament at the Heavenly Peak Valley. There was but one person who remained in the stronghold. Perched atop the peak of a mountain, Xianxia was, clothed fully in white, gazing at the boundless skies above him with his hands held behind him. The message from Lingqian, who was far away at the imperial city of the Tang Empire, came to him with the speed of light. Crack! A crack appeared in the air before him suddenly. The crack was a mere minuscule crevice in the fabric of space, yet it had adjoined with the surroundings of the imperial city of the Tang Empire despite being leagues and leagues away. So it comes, finally. Xianxia murmured as his gaze slowly shifted to the crack. His gaze sharpened instantly. It was the stare of a predator regarding its prey. That is your cue, sect master. With a simple voice, Xianxia uttered his instructions. His voice rang magically from all corners of the stronghold. There was a brief moment of stillness and peace within the stronghold as Xianxi's voice faded. Then came a voice, deep and ancient, as if the voice of an entity of archaic origins from another dimension, rumbled slowly. You are certain that you require me to act? The rumbling voice asked. Yes. Xianxia answered, his head dipping slightly. Very well. Remember the pact between us. The ancient voice groaned once more. Naturally. You will be able to go to wherever you wish after this battle. Xianxia smiled and pointed at the crack in the air before him, saying, I have opened the portal for you. You may go. Very well. Leave the rest to me. The ancient voice echoed through the hallways of the stronghold. Just then, the floors of the stronghold began to shake violently. The violent tremor, coupled with the cacophony of collapsing structures and construction, clamored wildly as if the entire stronghold had been utterly tossed and overturned. Disaster! An apocalypse! In only a fraction of a second, the stronghold of the ancient sect had been reduced to mere rubbles and debris. It was fortunate that most of the disciples of the sect had left for the hunting tournament lest they would have been caught in the disastrous calamity of destructive which could have claimed a great many of their lives. Far away atop the mountaintops, Xianxia surveyed the spectacle from his seat with indifference. Of the entire ancient sect or even the eternal world, Xianxia was the only one who knew that there slumbered a gigantic behemoth beneath the stronghold of the sect. And after many long years and ages of rest, the monster had truly awakened. Bang! With a deafening crash, a huge, golden arm, stronger than even a mountain, stretched from the depths of the underground. The huge golden arm slammed into the ground and lifted the monster up with the crashing din of collapsing mountains and terrain. Finally, the huge monster got to his feet. Towering at more than 1,000 feet, the skin of the hulking giant glowed with a deep shade of gold. Destructive strength pulsed in the veins of his sturdy limbs as he stood motionless. Yet the mere sight of him was enough to invoke fear and panic. This huge giant studied the crack in the continuum of space before him with his stern and alert eyes. His arm reached forth, clutching tightly at the edges of the space rift. Summoning his strength, the giant ripped and tore at the crack. Swoosh! With his sheer might, the giant had enlarged the crack into a huge black hole that he could now step into. "We will meet again, Xianxia." As he spoke, the giant stepped into the threshold of the pitch-black darkness and disappeared. A thin smile lined across Xianxia's face, who had witnessed everything. At the front lines of the battlefield at the Imperial City. Despite scoring a hit on Jian Wushuang and pounded a hole on his chest, the soothsayer frowned with doubt. "Have I missed his life core?" The soothsayer asked himself with surprise. A practitioner or warrior of the eternal realm would perish and die if the life core of the person was destroyed. Then again, the soothsayer had failed to detect the existence of a life core when his blow had struck Jian Wushuang earlier. Could it be due to his methods of inverse cultivation? The soothsayer wondered aloud. Despite having heard of the methods of inverse cultivation before, the soothsayer knew only that most practitioners of the methods of inverse cultivation were strange and bizarre in their own right. He did not know anything more about the practice of inverse cultivations. He did not know that Jian Wushuang had achieved the eternal realm, the third step of the methods of inverse cultivation, the everlasting realm, where his life core was fully assimilated by his flesh, sinews, bones, and even the cells of his body. For this reason, the third step was called the everlasting realm. It was the stage where his life would never diminish as long as his physical body endured. "Damn you!" A sharp and furious cry rang deep into the ears of the soothsayer. Gripped by intense fury and rage, Leng Rushuang threw herself towards the soothsayer. Even the old soothsayer could not help but grimace at the stabbing cold as he braced himself and fought against his assailant. Many warriors yelled and bellowed at the sight of Jian Wushuang being severely injured. Some cheered jubilantly while some cried with concern and dismay. The warriors of Emperor Xiao's forces grew angered and distressed, whereas the warriors of the forces of Emperor Leng applauded with glee and delight. "Is Jian Wushuang dead at last?" Emperor Leng murmured, her gaze turning sharp suddenly with anticipation. The one person who had most welcomed the death of Jian Wushuang would be none other than Xianxia himself. "Ha ha ha! Dead now, are you? Jian Wushuang, are you finally dead?" Xianxia screamed with joy as he burst into a maniacal laughter. "Good, really good. A country bumpkin such as you from a small and weak sect of a minuscule domain dare compete with me for a woman. What makes you think you are worthy of competing against me?" In his frenzied state of joy, Xianxia's delirious roars boomed across the front lines loudly. However, suddenly, "Watch out, young master!" An angry voice called out to him. The loud cries restored a brief moment of clarity to Xianxia, who recognized the voice. It was one of the warriors of his clan, the Xia clan. Yet, the voice had instead puzzled Xianxia. Due to Leng Rushuang's sudden burst of strength, Xianxia had earlier retreated to the edges of the battlefield. He was certain that there were no enemies around him and he was in no immediate danger. But why was his kin frantically warning him of danger? Xianxia was dazed in thought when he noticed a huge shadow looming over him. Is the sky turning dark? Xianxia lifted his head absent-mindedly. His eyes widened with shock as his head raised. A gigantic, dark golden foot, with a monstrous immensity that dwarfed even a mountain, loomed over him. He had no inkling as to where the gigantic foot had came from, but the mere sight of its enormity left him speechless and frozen with panic. For reasons unknown, the gigantic, golden foot seemed to be falling right on him. "No!" Xianxia burst into the most shrilling howl he had made in his life, before he was instantly crushed by the huge foot a split second later. Bang! A flash of thunderbolt thundered imperiously. The ground of the whole imperial city shook violently. The huge, dark golden foot fell upon Xianxia, smashing into him and reduced him into no more but a mass of flesh, viscera, and blood.